Well, hello everybody. I hope your week is going good. It sure has been beautiful outside, hasn't it? Some great warmth. It feels like spring and maybe even summer. So it got me thinking, Rick's sermon the other day got me thinking, I want to start here from one of those movies that you all probably saw as kids. At least I look back to my childhood and watching it maybe in the living room or even in elementary school. I can remember watching a time or two the old classic Sound of Music. And of course, numerous songs that come to your mind maybe of watching that. Maybe you don't even want to acknowledge that that's the case, but I bet when I say this first one, you're going to be able to fill in the blanks. And Julie Andrews, who is Maria in that show, starts with, "Let's start at the very beginning," right? And you know that song, and she goes on to teach the kids how to understand music and to sing with it, etc. That song famously, Do, Re, Mi. And I just wanted to talk about that because I thought Rick did a great job on Sunday of taking us through a passage, but not starting at the beginning, but as you might remember, he started at the end. A difficult passage, one that actually carried on from what Jesus had said as we know from the week before, the Sunday before, as we look through it from a sermon text anyway, some difficult teachings about loving our neighbor and treating people the way we'd want to be treated, etc., how we should love even our enemies. And then this week, as Rick took us through the ideas of do not judge, and lest you'll be judged yourself, and do not condemn, and you'll not be condemned. And he tells us about that famous one, right, about sawdust and plank, that we shouldn't be looking at that little piece of sawdust in our neighbor's eye, judging them for the relatively minor things that they do without looking first at the plank coming out of our own eye, the big things that we're blind sometimes to of our own doing. And so hard teachings, right? Because we can be critical. We can be a critical people looking to find fault in other people and not always acknowledge the fault in our own walk with God, in our own treating of other people, etc. And so how do we live that way? How do we live in a way that we love our enemies? How do we live in a way that we're not quick to judge or to point fingers, or that we would understand more about them and be filled with grace? And at the end then is really the key, as Rick took us through, as he says that the heart is really the key to all of it. And the heart, as again Rick described, the center of who we are as human beings. It's what we first think of. In fact, Jesus himself says there at the end of it, "For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of." And Jesus earlier had said before that, basically you'll know someone's authenticity, their faith, by the fruit that comes out of their life. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit, etc. And so as we think about our own lives, as we think about the people around us, what fruit is coming out? What is coming out of our hearts, leading out in our lives? And so I hope that you had time after Sunday to sit and think just a bit about your own life, to take a peek in the mirror, like I know I've been thinking about these past few days. What is my heart really like? And what comes out of my mouth as an extension, as an overflow of my heart? If you didn't know Randy Quade at all, what would you think about him as you heard him talk, as you saw him interact with other people? And the same about you. What would people say the same? What would people say about your life, about your mouth and the way that you use it? It's quite a challenge from Jesus, isn't it? But yet it's also quite hopeful for us that we're going to make mistakes, that we're going to fall short, that we're going to judge wrongly from time to time, but also that there's going to be good in us, that it's going to be growing in us as the Spirit of God comes in us, as at that point of belief, that it changes us. And so that changes us into good trees that produce good fruit and make a difference in the world around us. That's, I think, a huge part of what Jesus is talking about here. Man, I can't say again how refreshing this passage has been, or this chapters of Luke have been for us as we've encountered Jesus and we've seen and been reminded of how encountering Jesus changes our lives. Next week we're gonna keep working through this, and we'll get into chapter 7 of Luke as we finish out chapter 6 as well. Hope you can make it. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see so many of you on Sunday, either in person or online. Have a great day.